I was the customer service person you wanted to get after you called 3 or 4 times and are just getting nowhere. I was going to ask all the right questions to find an answer or to find a solution. I had good customer feedback on the surveys. I always had good evaluations, except sometimes I got, Brianna is professional, yet lacks connection with the customer. I got that like every other evaluation I got. But overall, I was a really, really good customer service professional, and I completely hated the job. So when the parent life specialist called me after I think 6 weeks of maternity leave to see when I was going to come back to work, because Blue Cross North Carolina offered us 12 weeks paid, but you had to take 8 and then you could do increments of 2 after that. I realized, why would I pay someone to do something I actually want to do, take care of my newborn, so that I can do something I don't really want to do, work this job? And that was pretty much the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey. So I'm Brianna, and this channel is about my entrepreneurship journey. I realize I've never explained why I quit. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I am going to talk about how I got to the decision, why I quit before I had another job, and something else that I think, a theme or an occurrence that I think is present in this story that is relevant to us as we make changes toward like the life that we actually want. So I'll start with my background. I have a degree in health promotion. I went to college. I basically looked at the brochure at orientation. I said, I'm good at PE and English, and I don't want to be a teacher. So I saw exercise science, and that's what I started out with. Later I switched to health promotion because it was more business related, but it honestly has made me no difference. Then I worked as I ran a children's weight management program and an injury prevention program at a children's hospital, while also doing personal training at a gym which was affiliated with the hospital, and I hated those jobs as well. When I became a military spouse in 2015, I got married in 2014, I moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina in 2015 February, and I didn't find another job until March of 2016. That's when I started at Blue Cross. So that's the history. I couldn't find a job, so I just had any job, which was customer service, and I really didn't like it. I was too conscientious, meaning I really took it upon myself to help people and not say there's nothing I can do. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I just really put a lot into it, and you can't be as empathetic as I am and do that job, so I hated it. When my son was born, I recognized that I had intended to have a different life by then. I had thought I would be working for myself so that I could stay at home with my child and make money. I've always wanted to make money. I've always wanted to work because I grew up with a single mom, and I just, that's the vision I have for myself. I also want to have a certain lifestyle, and I'm not going to depend on anyone else for that. So it was March 2018. I think that was the first time, actually April, that was the first time I Googled stay-at-home jobs. Actually, I didn't even Google it. It was on Pinterest, and I originally was going to be a virtual assistant because that seemed very accessible. But as I tried to prepare, it was just really hard to envision myself doing it. I just couldn't see myself doing it, but it sounded like a good idea. I also had a blog at that time, Bright on Base. I was writing about my experiences as a military spouse. I was getting really great responses, and I mean everybody was gassing me up like, oh my gosh, you're such a talented writer. So I was like, okay, I can be a blogger. That was one of the blogs I saw one of the advertisements. It wasn't really an advertisement, but when I was looking at work from home jobs on Pinterest, one of the first things I saw was how I made $6,000 in my first month blogging or something like that. And it was an article from chasingfoxes.com. So I figured if they can do it, I can do it. And as a person who actually has a talent for writing, I really felt like I could do it. So that's what I started with. And that was like June. I got my website all switched over from WordPress.com to being hosted elsewhere. And I redid it, figured out how to do all that stuff. And I was getting up at like 6, and I would work until about 8, and then my son would get up, and then I'd work from 10 to 7. And it was really hard. I was doing the most I could, and I was wasting so much time not knowing how to do stuff. And I just felt like if I had more time, I could really, be successful, because I was actually a good writer. So I had planned to quit in 3 months. So that was gonna be the end of July. Oh, I'm doing this because the 3-year anniversary of my entrepreneurship journey, the official start after quitting my job was August 1st, and that has just passed. So that's why I'm doing this. So I just said I was quitting. I didn't talk to my husband about it. I just told him I was quitting, which kind of gives you insight into our relationship at that time. I felt like it was time for me to do something for me, and I felt like quitting was best for me. So that's what I was gonna do. Now, in the meantime, I feel like I had a hard time with letting people know that I was quitting. Okay, so in a military community, it's very common for women not to work, even if you don't have kids. So it was easy to be like, I'm quitting. But then when we were on vacation back home here, and I was telling our family that I was quitting, and they just didn't get it, because everybody works. Like, you either are rich or you work, and we certainly weren't rich, but it was just kind of like trying to justify myself, but then also not wanting to justify myself. I didn't want people to think I was quitting to take care of my child, because I felt like that was kind of letting me off the hook. I wanted them to expect something from me, but then at the same time, I was quitting to take care of my child. So, interesting experience. Now, I think that this is a really important thing to talk about here. So I had said that paying somebody to do something I didn't want to do so I could go do something. Paying somebody to do something I did want to do so I could go do something I didn't want to do. That was my rationale. Like, why am I doing this? So I think that was the very first time, actually it was the second time, I started to look at money differently. It was like, okay, I'm making money, but what is the value of this money if I hate making it and don't really get to spend it, like don't get to enjoy it? And I still look at money that way. All money is not good money, and monetary value is not the highest form of value. So even if, like, let's say I could be a stripper and make a ton of money, that doesn't necessarily mean that the money is worth being a stripper. And I hate to use stripping because, somebody could like doing that. What's something I genuinely would dislike? Oh, the job that I used to have. If I could make, let's say my job running the children's weight management program, let's say I was making $50,000 a year, I still hated that job so much. I would just sit in the parking lot. It wouldn't be worth it to me. So my enjoyment, I just think there are a lot of other factors that contribute to value besides monetary, but so often value is simply the amount of money you have, like the number. And that's just not true. And I think that in entrepreneurship, you really have to understand that monetary value isn't the highest value in order to justify the sacrifices you have to make, because sometimes you lose money, sometimes you just don't make money, and then sometimes you make like a small amount of money, but it means a lot. So I think that's something like you have to kind of separate yourself from monetary value being the top value in order to go on this journey where you're not going to be able to pursue money all the time. Okay, so I was quitting and I had to call my manager to tell her. I worked from home, so I couldn't just like walk into somebody's office. I had to call. And I was so nervous. I remember my husband saying, "Do you think it's not right?" And I definitely thought it was right. I mean, I had dreams about crip walking out of the place. Actually, I had dreams about crip walking out of my first job, but or just going off on someone and be like, I quit at this job. You know, I just really was looking forward to quitting, but it was really hard. It was like, I was just really caught up, like choked up about it. And I did it, of course, but it was just so hard and weird that I didn't expect something good to be hard. And I think that this is an important lesson. I think this has come up other times in like slightly different ways, but it's so important to be aware that you have like an old self and a new self, or like your future self. This is who you want to be. This is who you are or used to be. And this person, like there are so many versions of you, and there will continue to be so many versions of you, and this version has to die in order for this one to live. And a lot of times this version just will not die, or you're very attached to it, or you can't let it go. So it feels like it's so much more comfortable to stay here. It's safer, you know what to expect. Even if it's bad, you're like, well, I'm comfortable here. But at that time, when you're fighting against something that's very obviously good for you, you must recognize that everything that you want is here, and it's just a battle between old self and new self. So when I started my current business, I was trying to find so many I was finding so many reasons to just back out. And I recognized, you know what? This is old me. Old me wants to continue to be broke and have hardship and all that. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to her. So I was like, okay, I have to do what is in line with this life that I want, and not what is instinctive for this one. That's the lesson I think is really important. Because if you know that you're fighting between old self and new self, then you can make choices that aren't based on how you feel and are based on what you want. So it's been, I should have figured this out. If it's been 3 years, let's do the math. 3 years at 365 days. 1,095 days on this journey. I definitely thought I'd be successful by now. I mean, I am successful. I thought I would be rich by now. I definitely, like 100% thought that I would already be there, and I still am trying to get there. But I'm okay with that because I know that I'm becoming a better person as time goes, so that when everything does fall into place, it's gonna be locked and loaded and ready to go, and everything's gonna, you know, just, I'm gonna have the life I want and be able to sustain it. So I'm not mad about that. But when I quit, I definitely thought that everything would just happen, because it's like, okay, I've believed in myself, I've been courageous enough to quit my job, reward me. But it's just not like that. I also didn't recognize how much work it would take to take care of my kid. I recognized after the fact, like, you pay somebody to do that for a reason, because I was not as productive as I thought I would be staying home with my son. So joke's on me. I'm still not. At this point, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna try to take care of my child, and whatever comes after that, comes after that. I wanted to share those thoughts. I hope that it gave some insight for somebody who's thinking about when to quit or making a change or something. I mean, nothing monumental happened, but I feel like it was kind of worth telling because of the struggle of it, and how it turned out. definitely had times where I regretted quitting my job because we ended up in a hardship once we got out of the Army, and I feel like that was my fault. Now, it wasn't really my fault because I don't think I could have physically lasted. Like, I don't think I would have been able to continue working up to the time that we moved, but I took that on myself. And there have been times when I've seriously talked to my husband about me getting a job, but he is spoiled now, and he's like, you can have a career but not a job. And there is no career that I want that is not working for me. So I'm kind of in a holding place. I think I mentioned getting a job this week so that he can do an internship, and he was like, no. He would prefer, you know, keep life as it is. And we're blessed enough that it is working out, but there have been times when I've gotten so weary, I've just wanted a job. But, you know, it's all part of the process. Okay. Any thoughts? Any comments? I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Thanks for watching.